Hi, this is an introduction to Plato. Hopefully you enjoyed those representations of Plato's allegory of the cave. What I want to do is I want to read you a quote from Plato's Republic, where he talks about the protagonist Socrates is discussing this theory of knowledge, this view that knowledge exists in a eternal and unchanging way, exists in a perfect way, the perfect form of things. He says, this is Socrates speaking, says, "Surely, Adamantius, the man whose mind is truly fixed on external realities has no leisure to turn his eyes downward upon the petty affairs of men." So he's saying, the man whose mind is truly fixed, his mind's eye is truly fixed on the external realities, that truth outside our world. And he's saying he has no time to look downward upon the petty affairs of men, these petty affairs that the sophists keep troubling themselves with. One might think of as like the modern day habit of discussing celebrities on Big Brother or something. You don't discuss those petty affairs. He continues, "But he fixes his gaze upon the things of the eternal and unchanging order." Eternal and unchanging order. This order outside. He's fixing his gaze, and when he's really talking about it, he's fixing his mind's eye. He's fixing his gaze upon the things of the eternal and unchanging order, and seeing that they neither wrong nor are wronged by one another, but all abide in harmony, as reason bids. And what he's saying there is that all these things exist in one perfect harmony, that all truths fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, and that they're all sort of lit up by, in this perfect harmony, by the one superior truth, which is the good, like the sun lights up the world. And he says, the last sentence of the quote, "Then the lover of wisdom, associating with the divine order, will himself become orderly and divine." I read this quote to you because Plato goes on in the Republic to talk not just about how there is this knowledge outside of our world, outside of this world of the petty affairs of men, he calls it, but that one group of people can know that knowledge, and they are philosophers. He's saying, so I'll read you the quote again. And remember, he's talking about philosophers here. "Surely, Adamantius, the man whose mind, the philosopher, is truly fixed on external realities, has no leisure to turn his eyes downward upon the petty affairs of men, but he fixes his gaze upon the things of eternal and unchanging order, and seeing that they neither wrong nor are wronged by one another, but all abide in harmony, as reason bids. Then the lover of wisdom, associating with the divine order, will himself become orderly and divine." What he's saying is that the philosopher who walks out of his cave and sees the truth, this higher truth, this more perfect truth, will himself become the embodiment of that truth. And this is key to Plato's Republic, which is his political philosophy, because what he goes on to say is that the people who should rule the Republic, the people who know what is best for the society as a whole, are philosophers. And so Plato famously says, "There will be no end to the troubles of states or of humanity itself, till philosophers become kings in this world, or till those we now call kings and rulers really and truly become philosophers, and political power and philosophy thus come into the same hands." Political power and philosophy thus come into the same hands. This view of the philosopher king really is central to Plato's Republic and very famously tied with Plato. This view that the people, the sophists, effectively, the people who are concerned with the petty affairs of men, much like we see lots of politicians currently who talk about sort of the petty things of life, things that don't really seem important. Well, he's saying he's obviously talking about the ancient Athenian politicians, these sophists, and he's saying, well, these people, they shouldn't be rulers, they shouldn't be the kings, they shouldn't be the monarchs, they should be forgotten and replaced with philosophers. People who know the higher truths, the transcendental truths, the eternal and unchanging truths, he calls them. And it's a very central idea. And when you read the Republic, and hopefully you will go and read the Republic, he talks a lot about how he would set out that education system. And what that means is that for Plato, there is a clear division between people. You know, Plato is not a lover of democracy. I mean, he quite clearly says there can be no democracy because the people, the mass, the horde, the herd, the sheep, they only know the petty affairs of men. They do not know real truth. Only philosophers know that. And so any people may not get what the philosopher king is trying to do, and like the people left in the cave looking only at shadows, they may even try and kill this philosopher king, but the philosopher king knows best. And of course that is a justification for a dictatorship, and Plato is quite clear about that. He talks about creating fake religions, where he says you need to tell people that they were born of different metals. So some people were born of gold, and others of silver, and others of bronze, and thus it is their anointed place to be a slave, or to be a worker, to be a soldier, or to be a ruler. And he talks a lot about how you would educate someone to actually find out who knows the truth and who doesn't. And that's interesting in its own sense. He talks about the need to abolish families and such like, and in many ways is very much hence an early communist. You know, Karl Marx talks about very much a similar type of thing: the need to abolish families, abolish religions, and abolish concept of marriage or anything like that, and children should be taken away from their parents and sort of educated, and there shouldn't be this sort of this communal bond. And that's very interesting within itself. But I suppose it gives us food for thought about how you define knowledge dictates how you believe the world can be ruled. And I've jotted down a few questions here to finish on for this lesson, for you to think about. Go away, have a think about in groups, or if you're on your own, just have a think about on your own.